All right, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Let's see if you are hearing me. Um, Now, today will be quite a day. I promise you. I promise you. Uh, your minds are going to be blown. You're going to be upset if you're not already. And if you already don't know about this, be prepared to have the rug pulled out from under you. Okay? Because there are things that you probably don't know because people are keeping it from you, especially regarding the recent disclosures by Sergeant, the ISP, Christopher Cecil. We'll be getting into that today. We'll be getting into years of BS that we've been calling out, and not just myself, but other extremely highly respected individuals and professionals in the field of photography and Photoshop, credentialed professionals. We're going to combine that with the words of Mr. Cecil and the words of some of the community members and some various facts from the defense filings and other filings. So there's a lot here, and I hope that you are ready to try to understand what the hell's going on here. Okay, I have my water here. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible to handle questions. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. And what can I say? It's so much that it's hard to even keep up with. It's hard to speak about because there's a lot to speak about. But you're gonna be angry. Okay, bottom line. Oh, let's see. Want to say hello to everyone in here. And I'm going to go through this really quickly, make sure that I say hello to those who are here. Now, those who are just lurking, I have a lot of hate watchers. That's good and all. Go ahead, hit the like, and keep watching. Keep my hours up. I love nothing more than to see you rage and seethe. So this disclosure happened August 1st. Okay, August 1st. Today is September 11. And it is a doomsday. Okay, it is a doomsday for the bootlicking, prosecution shills. And look, we hate baby killers as much as anyone else. Okay, we actually hate them more than anyone else because what we're saying here is we hate baby killers so much that we want all the baby killers to be brought into this because we are certain this is a criminal underworld centered crime that involves other baby killers who need to be brought to justice. So we're not going to allow the gaslighting. What's up, gaslight you? We're not going to allow that to continue without speaking truth to power. So here we go. Today's your day. So yeah, if you are not able to watch live, hit the replay when this is done because you don't want to miss what we're going to cover today. You know I'm a receipts-oriented person, and we got receipts. Now, what else did I want to say? I wanted to say hello to everyone in the chat. So let me do that. Say hello to Amy and Rebecca Ann, 1965. Puppy Power, formerly Wayward. Tech Death Hippie, Gina Bodette, Nancy Drew 101, RC 99, JoJo, Sandy D, Granny D, Fur Baby Daddy, Jack Out the Box, Digital, and Gaslight You, and anyone else. Kayla, hey, what's up, Kayla? And hey, anyone else? But here's the deal. You know we bring the facts here. So I have titled this show the latest info on the fake Abby Snapchat and some disclosures from ISP First Sergeant Christopher Cecil, allegedly. They have to watch the show so they can make up something to contradict the facts, documents, and common sense. Well, it's okay because there are people on all sides watching this, and we want all the baby killers to go away. And so that's what we're working on. And let's get right into it. I'm not here for looks. I'm here for facts. So let's see. Before we get into it, we're going to do a little something different. I have two videos that those of you who have not been around here for long probably haven't seen. So I'm going to accompany you today on a brief view of two short videos before we get into the meat and potatoes. But please watch these videos because these videos are pertinent. They were not made lightly. I understood what I was saying when I was saying it, and I did what I did for reasons. And I would like you to have the opportunity to review this if you haven't already reviewed it, or to see it for the first time if you haven't already seen it. Okay, so here we go. We got the two videos, and then we'll get into the presentation. So, so let's start with this one. Okay, change of plans here. We're going to move right on into this next piece before we show the other one. Let's make sure our sound is still on. All right, so here we go. Now, here we go. There's a lot here. Skip to the all right. Direct examination of First Sergeant Christopher Cecil. Questions by Mr. McClelland. Officer, state your name, please. Christopher Cecil. Could you spell that? He spells it. And how are you employed? I'm employed with the Indiana State Police. What's your rank currently? First Sergeant. Okay, First Sergeant Cecil. How long have you been employed with the ISP? 20 years. Did you go through special training and schooling to be a law enforcement officer? Yes, I did, sir. And do you continue to go through yearly training to keep updated on current laws, policy, those kinds of things? Yes, sir. And what's your current assignment? So I'm the commander of the Indiana Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Good one. Crimes Against Children's Task Force here. Throughout these duties, do you have an occasion to take cell phones or electronic devices and what we refer to as dump them, which means take the contents off these devices and examine the information? Yes, I do. Is that something you routinely do? Not routinely anymore, since I'm the task force commander, but I did prior to that position. Currently, you're the first sergeant who is working on the new analysis of Liberty German's cell phone. That's correct. But you've done an analysis prior to this new one, correct? Yes. Tell me about when did you do the prior one? I did the prior one in 2019. Okay, and that one's complete. Yes. You decided to do a new analysis of it. Why? New tools. And then it's also technology changed. So this was done in 2019. We're in 2024. And I know from experience that forensic software updates and gets better and can find things. But the analysis for 2022, you did a draft, you did draft a report for that analysis. Is that correct? You mean 2019? yes, 2019. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes. And that report has been turned over to the defense. Is that correct? Yes. And so I'm going to focus on that report mainly. Through that report, were you able to determine that there was a video on Liberty German's phone taken on the High Bridge the day of the murders? Yes. And that video is the famous video that we know as Bridge Guy, that has Bridge Guy in it. Is that correct? That's correct. And it's also the famous video where Bridge Guy says, "down the hill." Is that correct? Correct. And so that is the point where Abby Williams and Liberty German are abducted from the Monon High Bridge, correct? My understanding, yes. Okay, what I want to know specifically is what is the time that video was taken? So referring to my report, let me establish the foundation for that. Go ahead. What do you have in your hand? So I have a case report. And is this case report the one that you drafted? It's the one that I drafted. And it was drafted after the analysis of Liberty German's phone in 2019. Yes. And it is your report. This is my report. And you believe it's accurate? Yes. And actually, it says Defendant's Exhibit 1 at the bottom. Is it something that was admitted in your deposition? Yes, on May 15th. May 15th. Okay, and would it help you to refer to this report to refresh your recollection? Yes. Judge, I'd ask the court to allow the witness to refer to the report to refresh recollection on the details of the timestamp in the video. You may. First, Sergeant Cecil, can you take a look at the report and tell me the time, if you can find it, when the video started on the Monon High Bridge? So the video starts February 13th, 2017 at 2:13:51 p.m. And there was a location or GPS location associated with that video. So when the video initially starts, the GPS geolocates over near the Delphi High School. But then, within a matter of seconds, it comes back to the Monon Trail. That's where it goes. Just keep in mind. And there were pictures on the Monon High Bridge taken before the video. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Now listen. And you were able to recover those pictures, plural? Yes. And those pictures have GPS coordinates with them. Is that correct? The pictures don't. But there are, when Snapchat's being used, there are GPS locations when Snapchat's being used. And so there are pictures taken throughout Snapchat, and you're able to get a GPS location through Snapchat of those pictures. Yes. And they show that the pictures were taken on the Monon High Bridge as well. Yes. Were you able to examine the pictures and the video? Just a moment. And in both picture and the video, does it portray or does it show Abby Williams? Yes. And is she wearing the same clothing? Yes. And so you're confident the video is taken at the same location and time as the picture prior to it? Yes. And again, give me the time of that video. So the time of the video, it starts at 2:13:51 p.m. on February 13th. And when does it end? It ends 43 seconds later at 2:14:34. As an aside, just keep in mind, guys, that all of these troll farm creators who told you there was an over 2 minute long video lied to you. Let's continue. And you're able to track movement on that phone after that. Is that correct? Correct. And is that through the internal functioning or the internal GPS of the phone? Well, it has to do with Apple Health data. Okay, and you're able to track, so you're able to track the movement of that phone. Right. I'm not tracking GPS. I don't know where the phone went. I'm tracking just movement? Yes. At some point, does the phone stop moving? Yes. When is that? Listen here. So the phone stops moving the same date, February 13th, 2017, at 2:32 p.m. So 2:32 p.m. Correct. 2:32. Let's do a little something something. Let's get some mathematics in order. Okay? 2:32. Okay? Now, what time do they say the encounter occurs? 2:13 p.m. on the cusp of 2:14 p.m. That gives us 18 to 19 minutes, okay? 18 to 19 minutes let's continue. And through your analysis, you've been able to tell, or have you been able to tell, did the phone move after that time? No, it did not. And do you know how long did the phone stay on? My understanding from my examination, I'm currently still in the process on, it stayed on until sometime after 4:30 in the morning on the February 14th. Now listen, the phone stayed on the entire time. You guys get that? Troll Farm, do you get it? So from 2:32 p.m., when the phone stopped moving, which was 18 to 19 minutes after the initial 2:13, 2:14 encounter, until 4:33 a.m., the phone never moved. Correct. Do we get it? The phone never moved. 2:32 p.m., 4:33 a.m. Let's keep going. And do you know where the phone was ultimately found? My understanding, it was found underneath one of the girls. Okay, just a moment, Judge. Yes, Judge, I don't have any other questions. All right, Mrs. Auger. Thank you, Your Honor. Cross-examination of First Sergeant Christopher Cecil. Now, First Sergeant Cecil, how do I refer to you? You can call me First Sergeant Cecil. Okay, First Sergeant Cecil. Now you said earlier the girls were abducted at 2:14 p.m. on February 13th of 2017, correct? Yes. I didn't say they were abducted. I just said this is when the video happened. Okay, you have no idea if the girls met someone they knew or what happened at 2:14 p.m. when the video ended, correct? Okay, now listen. What time did the video end? Just let's keep tracking here. 2:14 p.m. the video ends because it's only 43 seconds. I only know what's on the phone, he says. Sure, so you can't say they were or were not abducted. I can't say anything, you're right. Okay, now, the ability to track movement on the phone, you said came from Apple Health data. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and the Apple Health data, does it show Liberty German's phone leaving from Liberty German's home to do you have a map? Okay, did Apple Health show Liberty German's phone moving from her home over to the location where they got out of the car and got onto or walked onto the Monon High Bridge? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. See, Mr. Cecil thinks that he doesn't understand the question just asked, which was clear as day. Actually, let's read it again for Mr. Cecil. Did the Apple Health data show Liberty German's phone moving from her home over to the location where they got out of the car and got onto or walked onto the High Bridge? I'm not sure I understand. You said the phone tracks movement, correct? Correct. And it shows movement when people walk. Yes. It doesn't necessarily show movement if you're in a vehicle traveling down the road, correct? The only way it could is if for some reason it would detect a movement as if you went over a bump, right? Okay, so it doesn't show any movement of Liberty German's phone leaving from her home to the trail that day when they were in the vehicle, correct? And you're referring to the Apple Health data, correct? Yes. No, it doesn't. Pardon? It does not. The Apple Health data does not. Okay, because it doesn't necessarily pick up if you're in a car unless something kind of significant happens. Is that right? Right, like if you hit a bump or something. Right, okay. So are you familiar with the area around the south end of the Monon High Bridge? No, ma'am. I've never been there. I only know what I've seen on the news reports. Okay, are you aware that between the south end of the Monon High Bridge and the location where the bodies were found, there is an access road? I did not know that. And the Apple Health data, the number of steps and the distance could have gotten those girls to somewhere on that access road. Is that correct? Not necessarily. But it's not wrong. It's not right. You just don't know. Correct. You're right. I don't know. Okay, so let's pause. The leader of the Indiana Crimes Against Children Task Force, who's tasked with retrieving this essential, crucial data, interpreting it, and testifying to its validity, has never been there, doesn't know much about the place, and just isn't sure about the access road, the south end of the bridge, the creek, Ron Logan's, or any of the movements associated with it. But let's continue. All right, sorry, I'm getting a little salty here. It's a possibility. Now, would you agree, Sergeant Cecil, that different information is transmitted to an iPhone by different measures? Does that make sense? No, ma'am, I'm sorry it doesn't. What? Your Honor, I was told that Mr. Cecil that he was going to be dismissed. Can I have a minute to find an exhibit that we had put away? Sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor, I'm sorry, my exhibits were put away, so it's a little blah, 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 blah. Okay. First, Sergeant Cecil, I'm going to show you what I have marked as Exhibit QQQ, which is a hand-drawn map of the area where the bodies were found. And if you can see this area right here, yes, ma'am, and we can highlight that, that's an access road. And would the Apple Health data get the girls somewhere on that access road? Do you know? Like on a specific point? Are you asking me like a GPS point? Yeah, any point. If they walked this distance and this many steps, they could have ended up on this access road. So Apple Health data doesn't track GPS. No, it doesn't. I'm not asking you for a location. I'm saying if we start the number of steps that you measured, have you measured any of those steps? No, I haven't. Okay. I mean, I don't know who, I don't know which girl could have been carrying the phone because, sure, as I mentioned in my deposition, if you're carrying my phone and then you give it to me, you may walk different steps than I do because I may be a little bit taller than you and have a different stride than what you have. Sure, and the steps are more accurate than the actual distance that the iPhone reports. Would you agree with that? I'm not sure. I've got that written down in my notes, but I can't recollect that right now off the top of my head. Okay. Miss Auger, yes, I apologize. Okay, it's a tough one. To answer your question, because I'm from my research preparing for this other examination, both of them are going to be correct. According to the research that's been done by other police officers who wrote a white paper on this. Okay, so the distance will be as accurate as the number of steps. From this research that's been done by another law enforcement officer out of Europe, because I have the paper, it's part of my research that I've done for this examination. Okay, and just to be clear, your testimony is that the distance traveled will be as accurate as the number of steps. I'm not saying, I'm just telling you what I've learned. I'm not saying that I know that for a fact. I do not know that for a fact. Correct. Then this number of steps will be different than the amount of distance traveled. Correct. Now, your gray key report that you did in 2019, on your report that you did in 2019, do you recall that? You mean my written report? Your written report. Okay. It was admitted as an exhibit. It's labeled Defendants 1. Your Honor, do you have the exhibit? No. The gray key report? No. No. It was admitted. It was not admitted. Okay, I don't have it. First Sergeant Cecil, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendants RRR. Okay, what is that? Let me look through here. So this is my written report, my digital forensic report that I wrote back in 2019. And you paid a lot of attention to that given the fact that this is a double homicide, right? Yes. I'm sure you give attention to everything you do. Yes. And if you could, please look at page 10. Last line. Yes, ma'am. Well, I want to back up to the middle of the page first. There is in all caps, it says LG. There's a little notation there. I don't know what it is. 38A158. You see that? Yeah, LG tilde 38A. Yes, ma'am. Tilde, thank you. And what did you note there? It's a picture of the Monon High Bridge, and it's like It's a picture that was uploaded to Snapchat. And the picture is like, it's just somebody would be standing in front and you're like ready to walk across it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we refer to as the empty bridge photo. Okay, the empty bridge photo. All right, now here's where we're getting into something. I want everyone who's a retard to pull the wax out of your ears, wipe the sleep from your eyes, and understand what's coming. I'm going to show you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit SSS. Okay, is that the photo you're referring to? It's not the exact one because this has got it's got something that's written up there. Okay, right. All right. Is there a phone or a picture that you have learned of that you could not find on Liberty German's phone? Yes. What was that? That was the picture of Abby Williams walking across the bridge, and it's kind of taken off, like off on an angle. And that was posted on her Snapchat account. So my understanding from social media is that's what it was. And I was asked to try to see if I could find that by investigators. And you could not find that? I could not find it. Now, if we go back to page 10 at the last line of your report, yes, what do you say? So on the last line, on February 13th, 2017, at 22:32:26, I wrote, last recorded data received by iPhone. The iPhone battery was likely depleted. And what was the last data you mean was received? I'm looking at the data for that day, and this, as I testified in my deposition, this was a mistake. I made a mistake. I didn't calculate other things. I wasn't looking into February 14th. Okay, but even if we don't look, so what you're saying now today, when you said on May 15th, is that you don't believe the phone's battery was likely depleted, right? Okay, but did you also make a mistake when you said last recorded data received by iPhone? Yes, I did. Okay. When you said that, what data were you referring to? If you look on the next page right here where I talk about it, it says after the phone, it stopped recording, it continued to function, meaning it still powered on. I found no evidence that the user physically interacted with the phone. The phone continued to receive messages, SMS messages, iMessages, FaceTime calls, mobile calls, and other similar communication. In addition, several applications updated in the background. The activity continued until the iPhone battery was depleted. That's what I put in there. That's what I was referring to. Okay, and were you referring to a particular piece of data that you believe the phone received at 22:32:26? I do not remember. I do not know. Let me make sure I turn the page here. I'm sorry. There we go. Would you agree with me that an iPhone receives data in different ways or messages in different ways? That's very broad. You're going to have to narrow it down. Okay, well, so if an iPhone receives an SMS message, right? That's a short message service. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, and that's transmitted by a cell tower. Is that right? I get it. I don't know a whole lot about cell towers. How is that coming in there? Okay, because it could be, you testified to that in your deposition. Hello? So it could be from a cell tower. It could come from Wi-Fi. There's other things that it could come from. Okay, how does an iMessage get to a phone? It could come from over the cellular, NE, or it could come from the internet. So if you're connected to Wi-Fi, if you don't have a cell phone service, if you don't have cell phone service, if you're on Wi-Fi, you can get an iMessage. Okay, is it your belief that Liberty German's cell phone was connected to Wi-Fi between 5:44 p.m. on February 13th and 4:33 a.m. on February 14th? No. And if it's not connected to Wi-Fi, the only way it can receive an SMS message is through a cell tower, correct? Correct. Yes. Okay. And do you agree with me? If Liberty German's cell phone received 0 SMS messages between 4:06 p.m. on the 13th and 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, 2017, I would have to look at that. I can't. Right, but we talked about that in your deposition. Right, but recall that? I vaguely recall it. Okay, what do you need to look at? I can pull up my computer and look if the judge is okay with that. That's fine. It may take a bit for me to pull up the report, but yes. Sergeant Cecil, do you have I'm sorry, which? The copies of your report. Do you want your RRR back? Yes, while we're waiting on you. Yes. Your Honor, I'd like to go ahead and admit Defendant's Exhibit RRR. Okay. Any objection? No, Your Honor. All right. Without objection, RRR is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit RRR admitted. Okay. Now, let's back up a bit. Let's remember of what RRR is. Okay. Let me read you the description again. RRR is the empty bridge photo, okay, that we know about. Okay, ma'am, I have my computer up. So can you tell me how many SMS messages did the phone receive between 4:06 p.m. on February 13th and 4:33 a.m. on February 14th? So 4:33 and 4:06 on the 13th. Yes. So there's nothing at 4:06. But at 4:33, from what Magnet is showing, that there is an SMS message or 9 messages as it's referring to. And then this is it's the same one. There's 2 of the same one here. There's another one at 4:33:36. There's another one at 4:33:37, 4:33:38, 4:33:39, 4:33:40. There's multiple SMS messages at 4:33 a.m. but at different seconds throughout, throughout the minute. Sure, that's what you're asking. So there's 15 of them, aren't there? So many of these may be duplicate because it'll show up as an iMessage and it may also show up as an SMS. So it may be the same person. Okay, there's the messages on your report that are marked SMS. How many of them are at 4:33? So AM on 2:14 and 17. Are you counting the duplicates? Are there notes on 2:13 that show up as SMS messages? 2:13 or 14? I'm sorry, you're confusing me, man. I think he's confusing the court right now. Okay, but let's get back to it. I meant 2:14. I tell you what, let me do this. I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit TTT. Okay, does this help? This is from the Celebrite extraction. Whose Celebrite extraction is this one? Is this mine or Brian Bunner's? That is 2017. Okay, I'm not going to be familiar with this. Okay, if it doesn't help you, we can, that's fine. I can look at it, but I'm just saying I'm not familiar. I won't be familiar with this. I'll compare it. Judge, says Mr. McClellan, if this helps things, the state's willing to concede that there were messages that came in at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, and the court can consider that if it helps moving things along. I'm satisfied with that, Judge. I don't know that the specific number matters, but the state's willing to agree that messages came in at 4:33 on 8 a.m. on the 14th. I think the number is important, Your Honor. Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm looking at this with Magnet, okay? And then there's one call that Magnet has not parsed. I'm not looking at it with Celebrate, okay? And I can show you which one that is. Which one is it? It's number 3 when it says, I think it says Becky Patty Marchand. For some reason, that entry is not here. Again, this is the reason why you got to use multiple forensic tools, because to put everything together, I've only got one of them open now. Celebrite takes a little bit to load on my computer. Magnet's pretty fast, so I'm trying to be efficient here for the court, but these other ones are fine. We're here. Okay, and does that perhaps, so if we look at Defendant's Exhibit TTT, yes, that it shows 15 SMS messages on Liberty German's phone. But you're saying you think number 3, Becky Patty Marchand, didn't go through for some reason. And in fact, the box is blank and it says, what does it say there? Unknown? So what I'm saying is Celebrite may have parsed it. Because again, you're going off something that I didn't do, but actually when I'm looking at it with a completely different separate tool, it's not showing it here. So I would have to pull up Celebrite and compare it and see if the Celebrite parsed it. How about this? Can we agree, First Sergeant Cecil, that Liberty German's phone recorded at least 14 SMS messages at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, 2017? Yes. Oh, yes, okay. And those are, and you agree with all of the 433 SMS messages at the top of the page, other than perhaps line number 3, Becky Patty Marchand. What are you asking when I say I agree? You agree that Liberty German's phone received all of the text messages that this document shows, other than on February 14th, 2017, other than perhaps the one on line number 3. Yeah, number 3 would have to do more. I would have to do more analysis, but yeah, that's what the software is showing. Okay, thank you. Now, what was the last SMS message received by Liberty German's cell phone on February 13th, 2017? From what the magnet is showing here is that on February 13th, 2017, at 22:48 or 10:48 p.m. was the last SMS message. Okay, would you agree with me that Defendant's Exhibit TTT does not show that SMS message? It's only one page, so I mean, those are in, well, would you agree with me, sir, that those are in chronological order? They're in reverse chronological order, but yes. Okay, all right. And if you look at TTT, what is the time of the last SMS message on that phone or to that phone? Here it shows it's here it shows it's actually February 13th, 2017 at 4:47 p.m. Thank you. Defendant moves to admit Exhibit TTT. No objection. Okay, without objection, TTT is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit TTT admitted. Thank you. So your data is even different than Brian Bunner's data from 2017. Is that right? Yes, but I don't know. But I know why. Why? Because Brian Bunner, after he did his exam several days later or weeks later, he connected to the network to do an iCloud dump of Liberty German's phone, which would have automatically brought some of this data there. This is the reason why this is here. Now you used to have you have different software that analyzes this data, right? Yes. Okay, so let's get back to the SMS messages. Those are time-stamped by the phone as of the time they are received by the phone, correct? What Magnet and Celebrite are doing is they're pulling, as if you look right here. So that's not my question. It's pulling as it is. It's how it's sent. It's not my question. Okay. When an SMS message appears on a cell phone, it appears time-stamped as of the time it's received by the phone. Is that correct? No. I just had my phone in airplane mode and received a text message, and it was sent. I received it. When I opened it up, it showed me when my daughter sent it to me. An SMS message, iMessage. Okay, those are different, right? Same thing. No. What the fuck is this guy doing? Sorry. Okay, an iMessage is time-stamped as of the time it's sent, correct? It goes through the Apple server, goes through the internet, and those are time-stamped as of the time they're sent, correct? When they're sent from, if you're texting me and you're sending me a text, yes, when you're sending it to me. And I want to be clear, because there are lots of different things that people talk about as text messages. So you got SMS messages, right, that you earlier testified are transmitted through the tower if Liberty German's phone is not connected to Wi-Fi, correct? Right. Right. Then you have iMessages, chats, Facebook. Those are all transmitted through a server, correct? They can come through the tower because you're on the internet. Judge, can I object at this point, says McClellan? And I guess, can Miss Auger give an offer of proof or show me how this is relevant to whether or not a third party can be talked about at trial? The state called him just to establish the time of the video to cover the alibi of Mr. Holder and the other people they want to name as a third party. When you receive a text message, I guess I don't see the relevance, Judge. Of course not, dick face. Ms. Auger, Your Honor, the relevance is, and I think that Mr. First Sergeant's going to get there, it's in his deposition, if we need it. An SMS message is time-stamped as of the time it's received by the phone. And an iMessage, a chat, is time-stamped as of the time it's sent by the other phone. And so the relevance is, even though people were sending Liberty German text SMS messages, she did not receive those until 4:33 in the morning, meaning her phone is not connected to a tower between 5:44 and 4:33. I would agree to that. So the relevance is, I would agree to that, yes. Okay, thank you. Jesus Christ, dude. So the relevance is something changed at 4:33 a.m. in the morning to make that cell phone. Well, why don't you get to the specific point then? Well, shit, Judge, we're trying here. He's obfuscating. Okay. You're dancing around the field here because I'm wondering as well, what does this have to do with third-party perpetrators that you're alleging? Well, it has a lot to do, you dumbass, if you'd fucking listen. All right. Next. Well, earlier, I believe it was Jerry Doughboy Holman testified that they have no evidence that Mr. Allen went back to the crime scene after maybe 3:30 p.m. and that the phone it was under Liberty German's shoe under Abby Williams' body, according to the state. It didn't move after 3:30 p.m. Okay? And so our point is that something changed at 4:33 in the morning that it suddenly connected to the tower. And this witness can answer that for you? He just did. Okay, then move on. Thank you. First Sergeant Cecil, in 2019, when you first conducted your exam of the phone, what did you know about the crime? Listen, guys. I knew two girls from Delphi had went on a trail, went for a walk, and then there was a video apparently was recorded of what was believed to be the last person that saw them, and then eventually later on they were found murdered. So you didn't know shit. Okay. What I know about it was from what I read on the news, because I was never given access to the report. Never read the police report. Did you have an understanding of the relevant time frame that you were to review in your examination? Yes, I was there to look to see if there was anything that would help identify like why they were out there on the trail, if they were meeting someone or anything like that. Oh, you mean Keegan Klein? Um, so then it's fair to say you were only looking at data prior to 214 on February 13th, 2017. Prior to 214, yes. Do I need to read that for you again? Do I need to? I think I do, because the retards in the back, the prosecution side, they want to ignore basic facts. So then it's fair to say that you were only looking at data prior to 2:14 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. Prior to 2:14, yes. Now, can you tell the court about Knowledge C database? So, Your Honor, Knowledge C is a data. Judge, says McClellan, I'm going to object again. I'm not sure what she can make an offer to prove. I don't see what the relevance is about talking about Knowledge C in terms of third-party perpetrators. Your Honor, we'll withdraw it. I think we have what we need. Okay. So we'll throw this in the trash right now, because this is, we're going to just get to the meat and potatoes here. Read it and weep. All right. Is there a picture that you have learned of that you could not find on Liberty German's phone? Yes. What was that? That was the picture of Abby. You know, the one that we've said for 2 years is photoshopped. And you could not find it? I could not find it. But sure, we made this up. Uh, let's take a brief interlude here. And I'd like to play for you the second video that I intended for you to see tonight. Let me make sure that I understand. There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being patient with me. That's a review. Like I said, that's one of some of my very old videos, but they're on the channel if you're interested in going looking at those again, screenshotting, whatever you want to do. Let's get back to this very important stuff here. Pick number one here. This is a community member who says his feet are parallel, hers aren't. Her left foot is not far back enough to where the shadow from her right leg would entirely miss her left leg. The right leg shadow is very clear on the man's left leg. And this is where the 207 came from. Analyzed weeks later like a sundial. Secondly, if the 207 time came from Kyle Smith's fake Facebook post, and his direct wording was 2 pictures from Liberty German Snapchat at 2:07 p.m. Last thing that was posted by her. Where did he get the 2:07 that night? And the 2 pictures couldn't have been taken at the same time. Once they had her phone, they could have forensically determined the time each individual photo was taken. But how would Kyle Smith be able to have known that with certainty just by looking at the timestamp of 7 fucking hours ago? It's been nothing but mythology, ladies and gentlemen. Mythology, okay? Now, second questionable piece here. This is the source. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, this magical image that's missing, that several experts say is photoshopped. This is your source for that. Observe closely the wording. Today I got pulled out for them to ask questions. He asked me if I had the screenshot of when the photo was posted. Abby on the bridge. When I went to go get my phone, they informed me, listen closely, ladies and gentlemen, that when they asked the other kids or others, they said no to letting them see their phone. Now, why would the kids, hello, as a matter of fact, why would the other kids say no to allowing them to see their phones? I'll let that one marinate in your brains. Why would the other kids not allow? Also, I have a request from everyone. Does anyone know who was the first to post the screenshot of Abby walking on the bridge? They were asking for that person today. I couldn't give the answer. Well, hold on. I thought you were that person. I thought you were the one who gave it to Kyle Smith. Weren't you? All right. So we have questions, Miss Gibson. I am not saying that she had a phone that day. Did she? Did Abby Williams have a phone? Or did Liberty German have 2? Or did Liberty German have another phone? But several contacts, included one in a well-known group who recently ran into the arms of Becky Patty, confirm that she had a phone. Likely against the knowledge of her mother. And that it was in fact a member of the Patties that secretly got her this phone. Did she use this to communicate with someone before the murders? Was she there with her phone? I think we already know the answer. Based upon Libby being made a hero by law enforcement for staying with her friend when she could have left, it appears to show this person might have been catfishing Abby to get the girls to the trail system. Becky was recently asked by this group of hypocrites about a phone. Becky confirmed that yes, she had one and that she was not allowed to use it all the time. Becky likewise denied that she had gotten her the phone. Maybe Anna did know. But they've denied it for years. So who do we believe? Thank you, Matt Sullivan, for that incredible post. I'm sure we'll be seeing more about this in the future. Now, Gina, are you still here? Because we're not done yet. We're getting there. Gina Marie Baudet. Geofencing shows that Libby's phone stopped pinging in the area at 5:44 p.m. on February 13th and began pinging again at 4:33 a.m. the morning of the 14th. Within days of the murders, there were locals saying the perps took the girls to the Mears barn for hours before taking them to Logan's property. Would the geofencing data support that? Is that why we're not allowed to see the geofencing data? Is Mears barn far enough away for Libby's phone to be outside the pinging area? Of note is that it was 5:30 p.m. when Mike Patty called Tobe to let him know the girls were missing. That was only a 15-minute window before the perps left the area with Libby's phone, then returned the following morning, whereupon somehow the phone ended up under Abby's remains. Well, now we know. Phone didn't move, allegedly. Allegedly. The phone did not move. To make things more odd, Mike Patty told law enforcement who arrived that night that Libby's phone was pinging all over town, but it did not move. All right. We're getting there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start here. Sergeant Blocher advised, according to his evaluation of the data provided by AT&T, that the last contact event between the cell phone and the tower located at Wells Street was at 5:44 p.m. He advised that according to records provided by AT&T, there had been no contact with the phone since then. Sergeant Blocher advised that his interpretation of the information which we were receiving from AT&T indicated that the cell phone was no longer in the area or no longer in working condition. He advised that since there had been no change in the every 15-minute update we were receiving and the last known contact time had not changed since 5:44. On February 13th and 14th, law enforcement requested AT&T ping Liberty German's phone every 15 minutes. The time of the last ping to Liberty's phone on February 13th was 5:44 p.m. And the time of the first ping on the 14th was 4:33 a.m. Indiana State Police believe that Liberty German's cell phone was either out of the area. Well, how does that happen if it didn't move? Or not in working condition. But we now know it was in working condition. between 5:44 p.m. on the 13th and 4:33 on the 14th, at which time there was a successful ping to the phone. Well, there was a lot successful at 4:33 a.m. So the real question is, what's the actual fucking story here? Was the phone working? Was the phone not working? Did the phone move? Did the phone not move? What about another phone? Where did the Abbey on the Bridge photo come from? Now, we're going to take a quick look at this because it's absolutely amazing. And we need to get to this. This is called Defendant Richard Allen's Fourth Franks motion based on newly disclosed evidence and request for hearing. We've covered this before, but I wanted to include it in this stream because of the context of what we're discussing today. And we're trying to bring some understanding here. Okay. Let's quickly run through this. And this document is where I got the two highlighted portions that I just showed you. So we're going to go through and read them in context. Okay. Now, all right. This says, on September 18, 2023, Mr. Allen by counsel filed his first Franks notice, which included 136 pages of devastating bullshit that the judge has flushed down the toilet. Boy, tell you what, these people, they do not care about how things are seen by FBI, by the citizens of Indiana, or the people of the United States of America. Right, so detail the following. A, certain evidence that the Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett failed to include in his search warrant application for the residence of Richard Allen. Certain evidence that was detailed in his search warrant was false. It was. Evidence that law enforcement had acted in an intentional manner on multiple instances, attempting to conceal evidence from the defense, to withhold evidence, and failing to tell the truth under oath concerning certain specific evidence. Allen by counsel incorporates his first Franks, the second, third, and into this fourth. So we got four all in one, and she's denied them all because this is a railroading, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what Mr. Richard Allen did or did not do on February 13th and 14th, 2017, this is a railroading of Mr. Richard Allen. So don't be confused about where we stand here. Detailing how the prosecution and law enforcement, in collusion with the YouTubers, had attempted to conceal the identity of a Purdue professor, lie, cheat, steal, slander, disinform, misinform, gaslight, harass, dox, threaten, stalk, and kill. Attempted to conceal the identity of a Purdue professor whose testimony contradicted law enforcement and Tony Liggett and Jerry Holman of the ISP. This notice was provided as a supplement to the by the way, Doug Carter as the spokesperson and head of that organization. This notice was provided as a supplement to the first Franks notice in order to bolster the defense contention that the state of Indiana law enforcement were acting intentionally and in bad faith and reckless disregard of the truth to further support the request for Franks hearing. We incorporate the second, okay? On March 13th, 2024, Mr. Allen by counsel filed the third fucking Franks notice based on evidence recently provided by the prosecution. Franks 3, okay, detailed at least 3 persons were in or around the crime scene at the time the murders were allegedly taking place, and none of the owners of the phones had any correct connection to Richard Allen. Neither were the phones for Richard Allen, or was the phone Richard Allen's. Purdue professor Jeffrey Turco wrote in a report provided to Unified Command that the markings on the girls' bodies made with sticks, yes, these right here that I'm about to show you, let's see, where are they? I've been showing these ad nauseum. Where are they? Let's just go ahead and take a little detour here. These sticks right here that did not fall. Okay. By the way, I forgot to upload the receipts here. The whole contention that a certain YouTuber who shills for the prosecution was trying to make, and all of the others who gravitate towards this group of individuals, remember they tried to say that these branches fell on the girls like this. They stuck with that about 3 days before they gave up on that, because they realized how ridiculous it was that these sticks had fallen into these arrangements. Okay. Sticks did not fall into these arrangements. Okay. Anyhow, let me continue. I'm sorry. Where were we? Turco wrote in a report to the Unified Command that the markings, meaning the configuration of the branches you just saw, constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes or modern recreations thereof is quite plausible. Mr. Allen incorporates a third Frank's motion into this fourth. Okay. Additional facts. Prosecution provided numerous documents to Mr. Allen's counsel as a result of the motion to compel. Motion for sanctions filed April 23rd. Contained in the documents provided by the prosecution are pages 2 and 3 of an incident report authored by Steve Mullen of the Delphi Police Department. These 2 pages indicate that Mullen contacted Sergeant Mitch Blotcher of the ISP at approximately 9 p.m. on February 13th, 2017 to assist in acquiring precise location information for a cell phone using some of their more technical aspects. It appears that the last communication with Sergeant Blotcher was prior to 1 a.m. on February 14th, 2017. The 2 pages provided to Mr. Allen's counsel contain the following summary of a conversation between Steve Mullen and Sergeant Blotcher of the ISP. That's what I just read to you. That says they've known from the very beginning. Remember, this is February 13th to 1 a.m. on the 14th. They've known immediately that the last contact with the phone was 5:44 p.m. on the 13th of February 2017. Conversation appears to have occurred prior to 1 a.m. on February 14th, 2017. That's right. You knew from the beginning. On November 9th, 2023, prosecution provided Mr. Allen's counsel with evidence of 44 fucking pings generated by AT&T to locate Liberty German's cell phone. There were 2 pings from February 13th in the pings provided to the defense counsel. Remember this, put it in your notebooks. One at 5:48 p.m. and one at 7:16 p.m. Mr. Allen's counsel did not learn of additional pings which took place every 15 minutes on February 13th until the discovery disclosure on April 26, 2024. Think of the date. Defense counsel still does not have the additional pings from February 13, 2017, or the early morning of February 14, 2017, pursuant to the information which the prosecution disclosed to Mr. Allen's counsel. The first ping on February 14, 2017 was sent to Liberty German's phone at 5:39 a.m. More importantly, is Sergeant Blotcher's statement that his interpretation of the information which they are receiving from AT&T indicated that the cell phone was no longer in the area or no longer in working condition. Interesting contradiction again. The prosecution's entire case rests on the idea that Liberty German and Abby Williams were on or very near the south side of the Monon High Bridge at 2:13 p.m., and that Richard Allen killed them between that time and when a witness allegedly saw a man in blue jeans and a blue jacket walked on 300 North shortly before 3:57 p.m. But now you have to recall that the window has even shortened, right? Um, the window has even shortened because now we're saying that at 2:32 p.m., 2:32 p.m., the phone stopped moving, which leaves only a 17 to 18-minute window. 18-minute window for the girls to be, quote unquote, abducted, quote unquote, for the phone to stop moving and never move again and be under the girl's body the entire time. Now you make that make sense. In other words, assuming the prosecution's evidence is accurate, Liberty German and Abby Williams were murdered after 2:13 and before 3:57, and I would venture to say before 2:32. Because that is the time the phone stopped moving. The phone did not move again. The phone was under the body of Abby Williams. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Are we saying that Mr. Richard Allen took Abby Williams, Liberty German, two very capable young 13 and 14-year-olds who were athletic? He took them off of the south end of the bridge, down the hill, quote unquote, across the creek, quote unquote, which was freezing, up onto Ron Logan's property, which is not an easy task, quote unquote, killed them, and left them there by 2:32 p.m., that phone was already under the body of the girl, never moved again, and the girl was dead. 18 minutes. What is he? Superhero? Does he have magical powers that we're not aware of to accomplish that by himself? You tell me how he could possibly ever do that in 18 minutes to get those girls controlled, down the hill, across the creek, and murked on the spot. And then have time to lollygag and leave the sticks arranged as Norse runes. No, not as sticks that fell off of the trees. Sorry, Troll Farm. Jesus Christ, man. Additionally, assuming this timeline is accurate, which we know it's not, the prosecution would have the girls between the Monon High Bridge and the location where the bodies were found from 2:13 p.m. on February 13, 2017, until they were found approximately 12:15 allegedly on February 14, 2017. At the time the bodies of Abby Williams and Liberty German were found, Liberty's phone was under Liberty's shoe, both of which were under Abby's body. Assuming the prosecution's timeline is accurate, which we know it's not, Liberty German's phone was under Liberty German's shoe, which was under the body of Abigail Williams from sometime after 2:13 p.m., which we are now believing is 2:32 p.m., until the bodies were found at 12:15 on February 14, 2017, and remained at that fucking location in that condition the entire time. Albeit magically started functioning again at 4:33 a.m. But that's a whole other subject here. However, Sergeant Blatcher stated that on February 13th, that the cell phone was no longer in the area. What is that contradiction about? There's no way that Liberty's cell phone could have been out of the area between 9 p.m. on the 13th and 1 a.m. on the 14th if the prosecution's timeline is accurate, because the phone was at the location where the bodies were found that entire time. Not to mention, we are told by several searchers that that area was covered, despite what the Troll Farm creators would have you believe that no one canvassed that area. I would remind you that that trail that breaks off from the trail that goes right to the bridge goes directly right down there to Ron Logan's property, right there to the crime scene. Additionally, we have FBI telling you that if you're on Kay Weber's property on the other side of the Deer Creek from the crime scene, you can look right down on that crime scene and see everything that happens. Matter of fact, if you're on Kay Weber's deck, you can look down at that crime scene and see everything going on. We're going to forget no one knows about that. At the time of the search warrant for Mr. Allen's residence, members of the ISP were also aware that the last ping of Liberty's phone was not at 5:44 p.m. on February 13th, but at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. Yes, because they've known it. Furthermore, it's evident from the data on Liberty's phone that the phone was accessed and connected with the cell phone tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. Had Tony Liggett submitted an affidavit for a search warrant that did not recklessly disregard the truth, it would have included the following. When the bodies were found at approximately 12:17 on February 14th, the sticks and branches which appeared to have been deliberately placed on the bodies were actually there and actually looked like they were deliberately placed. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson stated the bodies appeared to have been moved and staged. Yes, so how do you explain that if the bodies fell where they lay? At the time of the murders, Abby Williams was dating Logan Holder. She was. Logan is the son of Brad Holder. He is. Jerry Holman of the ISP consulted with Jeffrey Turco of Purdue University. They wanted to withhold that because they didn't want you to know that his opinion was that it could have been inspired by Norse runes or Norse rune-like or Wiccan-like or occult-like or any fucking terminology you want to put to it. Purdue professor Jeffrey Turco wrote in a report provided by to Unified Command that the markings, that is the configuration of the branches on the girls' bodies, constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes is quite plausible. Brad Holder belonged to a group practicing and following Nordic pagan beliefs in 2017. Yes, he did. Brad Holder posted pictures on Facebook mimicking the crime scene somewhat and also mimicking or configuring sticks in the woods into runes and runic formations or Nordic inspired bind rune formations and the like. Yes, he did. Abigail Williams and Liberty German were killed after 12:13 p.m. and before 3:32. I'm revising that because we know it's not 3:57, because how is it 3:57 if at 3:32 the phone stops moving and is under the shoe under the body of a dead girl? During that time, there were 3 phones in the area where the girls were last seen and the location where the bodies were found. None of those phones belonged to Richard Allen. However, our prosecutor has requested that geofencing data, which is extremely important, extremely relevant, and a product of law enforcement, there's no reason why it should not be included and presented to a jury. Our prosecutor has requested, and our judge has approved, rubber stamped, that geofencing data will not be allowed in. On February 13th and 14th, 2017, law enforcement requested AT&T ping Liberty's phone every 15 minutes. The time of the last ping on February 13th was 5:44 p.m. and the time of the first ping was at 4:33 a.m. Make that make sense. And the phone never moved, allegedly, or did it? Indiana State Police believed that Liberty's cell phone was either out of the area. Well, but that contradicts what we were just told by Mr. Cecil. Or not in working condition. Well, that contradicts what was just told by Mr. Cecil on August 1st. So make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it doesn't, and you can't. These omissions are so voluminous and significant that there is no explanation for their omission other than a reckless disregard for the truth. Had Tony Liggett not recklessly withheld pertinent information from his PCA on the search warrant, the application would have been denied. Not to mention the fact that he also misrepresented witness statements, outright inserted words into the mouths, and twisted multiple descriptions of multiple individuals and multiple vehicles into one single thing, and that is the vehicle of Mr. Richard Allen and the appearance of Mr. Richard Allen. And you tell me how he and Jerry Holman and Doug Carter would all rubber stamp such a thing, and have Nicholas McClellan and Steve Mullen rubber stamp it, and have Judge Gull rubber stamp it, railroad it, and shove it up our asses, because there's no reason on earth why a jury should not be able to be informed of this, be aware of it, deliberate on it, and come to some conclusion. We believe it's important. We also believe that Miss Erica Gibson and Mr. Kyle Smith and Michaela Babcock are extremely important, as well as all of the searchers, as well as all of the family members. Why were their devices not searched? Why do we not have digital forensics to establish an absolute rock solid timeline? Why do we not have proof that Richard Allen gave the statement that is attributed to him giving to Dan Doolin when Dan Doolin allegedly regularly recorded his tips and interactions with civilians, and when he had this very important interaction with this very important civilian, that very important interaction was not documented and in a recording. So we're now left to take the word of a very untrustworthy law enforcement contingent who has already proven themselves to twist witness statements, to insert words into witnesses' mouths, and to truly try to manipulate the minds of the general public and manipulate the evidence in whichever way they want to. So now we have to rely on their word for Mr. Richard Allen's statement that he was there between 1:30 and after, and not prior to 1:30, as he later stated, which is recorded and is documented. We only have vehicles on one end of a recording. How do we know if those vehicles are coming or going? How do we know that this young lady captured a Snapchat as she claims? The photo is not on Liberty German's cell phone. So where is it? Where did the photo come from? Is it, as our experts we have consulted allege, a photoshopped event? Why did these classmates not let them see the phones? Who were the classmates under the bridge? Was it our group of girls that we know about who were under the bridge? Who said they were there until 3:30 and then later changed their story to say that they were only there till 3 p.m.? Did Becky Patty or some member of the Patties secretly get Abby Williams a phone, lend a phone, or let use a phone? Did Abby Williams have a phone? Or was there more than one phone out there that belonged to the victims? There are so many questions that go unanswered. As you know, my opinion is that I do not have enough information to make a decision about the guilt or innocence of Richard Allen. But what I do have enough information on is that there is an absolute unhinged effort by a large contingent of people to railroad, to implicate, to twist, manipulate, and outright lie to have Mr. Richard Allen become a lone wolf, psychotic killer of two baby girls with a minimum of evidence. And I would almost venture to say with no evidence, at least none that we've seen yet. Because describing clothing that he wears is not evidence. Being somewhere in the vicinity of the bridge is not evidence. There were many people in the vicinity of that bridge. There were many males in the vicinity of that bridge. Driving a vehicle is not evidence. Many people drive vehicles. A vehicle passing a camera at 1:30 is not evidence. Scratches on the side of a bullet that is an unspent round not only is not evidence, but it's not forensic science. Well, so do we not have any forensics for this entire case? We've got a completely circumstantial case with a minimum of any evidence whatsoever. We got what appears to be coerced confessions. Is that all you got? That was necessary? Is that why our judge had Richard Allen placed into Westville, guarded by those he was guarded by? We've got multiple letters from Robert Baston explaining that he was threatened, harassed, intimidated, abused. We know he was medicated. He was experiencing psychotic episodes. Sure does appear that all we got is confessions, and those confessions could have been coerced. Well, if that's all it takes is confessions, don't we have some other individuals in this community who have made confessions to killing Abby and Libby? We'll leave that with you for today. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, for taking the time out, for listening to this material. Tip of the iceberg. If this is your first time hearing any of this, just understand it's the tip of the iceberg. I would recommend and suggest that all of you interested people go ahead, find the testimony of Mr. Christopher Cecil. Read it for yourself. Read it for yourself, because the people who are going to come on their channels and give you some sort of summary. For example, I'll give you a little taste, because Turbo does it all the time. She does. They come up with these talking points, okay? So consider what you just heard, and then consider these talking points. Consider what you just heard, and consider these talking points. This document covers the testimony of First Sergeant Christopher Cecil at the motion in limine hearing held August 1st, 2024. Sergeant Cecil testified about the forensic examination of LG's phone, which captured the infamous video of Bridge Guy. Cecil provided technical details about the phone's GPS tracking, timestamps of the video, and photos taken on the day of the murders, and the Apple Health data indicating when the phone was stationary. The focus on establishing the timing of events leading up to the murders and the location of the phone, which played a key role in corroborating the movements of their victims and their interaction with the suspect. Timeline of events, incriminating statements, points against Richard Allen. Cecil confirmed that the video showing Bridge Guy was recorded at 2:13 p.m., just moments before the murders, which aligns with the time frame when Allen admitted being at the trails. Apple Health data. Cecil testified that LG's phone showed movement until 2:32 p.m., at which point it became stationary, likely indicating when the murders occurred. This data supports the theory that the girls were incapacitated shortly after encountering the suspect, further undermining any alternate theories posed by the defense. Forensic consistency. The phone was found under one of the victims, which is consistent with the crime scene evidence, linking the timeline of events and the location where the victims were found. This contradicts the defense's argument about body movement or relocation, suggesting that the murders happened on site. Now, you tell me, who gave you a more thorough, fair, understandable iteration or summary of what was actually brought out by the cross-examination and direct examinations of Mr. Christopher Cecil? So we're to believe that Richard Allen killed the girls at 2:32 p.m. and then waited around for an hour before being witnessed by Sarah Carbo wearing something different than Bridge Guy and also not bloody. How did he manage to not be bloody? He was only muddy, not bloody, despite what Tony Liggett swore to oath to, or alleged under oath. So I'll leave you with that today. Please hit the like. Please continue to communicate with each other. It's important that you be a community. You are all you have because the blind faith and trust in this system at this point, it cannot work. It cannot work. Okay? You can clearly see what is happening here, regardless of Mr. Allen's guilt or innocence. I'm sure that you can see yourself what is happening here. So God bless you all. Please go back and listen again if there's anything you missed. Go find the documents yourselves. And anyway, if you're on the replay, please be kind enough to add your voice to the conversation by going ahead, leaving a comment, or sharing the video, adding your own opinions, voice, and intelligence to this conversation because it's badly needed. We know that we have an entire contingent who's working together as a tidal wave to try to accomplish this mission and obfuscate what really happened to our dear Abby and Libby, and we don't want to see that because regardless of what they will say to you, what my goal is, and I'm sure what our goal is here in this chat, is the actual truth about everything that happened to those girls in February, whatever, 2017, prior to when they were found in the woods on Ron Logan's property. We want to know the entire story. Who was involved? How did it happen? Who knew about it? Who's been lying ever since? We want to know. We want to know, where did this digital media come from that they've used to mislead the public over the years? Where did the sketches come from? Why were there conflicting sketches? Why did you allege that they were two separate individuals? And now you allege that they're both the same individual. We want to know, was there one phone, two phones, three phones? How many phones were on these girls? We want to know, was there a connection to Keegan Klein? Because we know that there was a connection in that Keegan was directly communicating with one of the victims at a minimum. Was there a further connection with Keegan Klein? So we love you. Hey, hug your kids, hug your wife, your husbands, all the things that you love, go hug them. And I'll see you guys later. Anyway, God bless. Hit the like on your way out. And let's just pray. Let's do that. All right. Be good to each other. Bye.